Hey there. Every student is just brimming with potential, right? But how do we actually unlock it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to go way beyond just talking about teaching methods. We're going to unpack a really powerful framework that works just like a blueprint for turning all that raw potential into real, lasting growth. So let's just jump right in with the biggest question of all. How do you build a great student? I really love that word build. It makes you think of student development not as something that just happens, but as a deliberate, thoughtful process. Like construction. And any good construction project has to start with a plan. And here is that plan. We're looking at a 10-step blueprint, which we've broken down into 4 key stages. Think of it like a real construction project. Each stage builds right on top of the last one, taking us from the ground up. Okay, first things first. Before you can build anything that's meant to last, you absolutely need a solid foundation. This is probably the most critical part of the whole blueprint, honestly, because everything, and I mean everything, that comes later depends on getting this part right. So, the bedrock of this whole thing is an idea called student-centered learning. Now, it might sound simple, but it's actually a huge shift in perspective. It means we stop thinking about the lesson plan first, and instead, we start with the student. Who are they? What makes them tick? What are they naturally good at? And where do they need a little more help? It all begins right there, with them. So this foundation really stands on 2 main pillars. First, you have to understand the student as an individual. And second, once you really get them, you have to build their basics. We're talking about a rock-solid grasp of the fundamentals, reading, writing, the core concepts, because without that, the whole structure is just going to be wobbly. All right, so the foundation is set. Now it's time to bring some energy into this project. This next phase is all about creating that momentum. It's about igniting that little spark of curiosity that really fuels all the deep, meaningful learning we want to see. So how do you actually do that? Well, the blueprint gives us 3 awesome, really practical ways. First, connect with their learning to their own world using stories and real-life examples. Second, make it a safe space for them to be curious. Actively encourage questions, even the crazy why questions. And third, get them doing things with hands-on learning like games and experiments. That way, learning becomes an experience, not just a lecture. Now, check this out. This quote right here is kind of the secret sauce. Allow students to ask freely and think independently. See, this isn't just another technique, it's a whole philosophy. The key takeaway is that real engagement comes from giving students intellectual freedom. When they feel like they have the power to question things and explore for themselves, that's when that spark really turns into a flame. Okay, we've got a solid foundation and a spark of interest. Now we can start building upwards. But for that growth to be sustainable, students need more than just facts and figures. They need an internal framework, kind of like a mental and emotional scaffolding that's going to help them handle any challenges that come their way. And this slide just lays out the difference perfectly. On one side, you've got knowledge by itself, the basics, the concepts. But look at the other side, knowledge plus character. This is where we get into things like discipline, confidence, honesty, teamwork. That is the scaffolding that's going to support a student not just in the classroom, but for their entire life. And finally, let's zoom all the way out. A great student isn't built in a vacuum, right? They grow and thrive inside an environment, an entire ecosystem. So this final part of our blueprint is all about creating and nurturing a supportive ecosystem so that all this growth can continue. At the very heart of this ecosystem is the feedback loop between the educator and the student. And this isn't just about pointing out what's wrong. It's about consistently showing appreciation for their effort and giving them clear, helpful guidance on how to improve. It's a continuous conversation that helps the student actually see their own progress. The other absolutely critical part of this ecosystem is the partnership between the educator and the parents. When teachers and parents are on the same page, communicating and working together as a team, well, they create this incredibly powerful, unified support system. It's like a circle of support that really helps that holistic growth happen. So there you have it. That's the whole blueprint. We started by laying the foundation, then we ignited the spark of curiosity, we built the internal scaffolding of character, and finally, we created a supportive ecosystem for everything to flourish. And that really brings us to our final thought. Every student's journey is different, and every educator or parent is starting from a different place. So as you look at this framework, the real question I have is for you. Which part of this blueprint are you going to build first?